As soon as somebody talks about the husband and wife relationship, we feel like we know it, we have heard about it, and sometimes we close our ears and especially our minds because we think that we are experts and we do not need anybody else's advice on that. Honestly, this is a relationship which is ever growing. It needs our attention almost every day. And as many times we listen to this reminder, believe me, it should encourage our iman and make us reflect upon what we are going through as persons, as husbands and as sisters. Let me tell you from the outset that this is a very sacred relationship. If you look into the Quran uses the word mithaqan ghaliza. وَقَدْ أَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word mithaq ghaliz, which is a very solid contract. When it comes to the loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, this mutual relationship of husband and wife, somehow there is a kind of analogy between the loyalty which a person should have to one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, look at it from the perspective of the last words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, even on the last sermon, Hajjatul Wada, when the Prophet ﷺ is completing the religion, and the ayah came, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam dina. When Islam was being perfected, and that last sermon, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reminding again, Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra, فَإِنَّكُمْ إِسْتَحْلَلْتُمُوهُنَّ بِأَمَانِ اللَّهِ. I want you to reflect upon this word, Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra, and I will talk to my brothers first, and I will come back to my sisters. Somehow, the Prophet ﷺ could perceive that in his ummah, perhaps the biggest problem is going to be with the husband. They are going to be more bossy than the sisters. They are going to be more manipulative than the wives many times. That's when you remember that on Hajjatul Wada, he gives the advice, Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra, and remember the last words of our Habib alayhi salatu wassalam are again with two advices to this ummah. Be careful about your salah and be careful about your wives or between you and your wives or the woman. Istawsu bin nisa'i khayra. This is something which has been permitted in the name and in the security of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember one thing. Istahlaltumuhunna bi amanillah. This relationship out of wedlock is haram. All of us we know it. But as long as we say we accept it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I accepted her as my wife. This is what all of us we say at the time of marriage. This is what we call, and what the Prophet ﷺ has denoted to as the aman and security of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same phenomena which will become haram becomes halal just because of this mithaq ghaliz, this solid contract which the husband makes to the wife and the wife makes to the husband, And then, فِي بُدِعَ أَحَدِكُمْ صَدَقَةً, as the Prophet ﷺ says, that the intimacy and the relationship become sadaqah. So you can imagine, this is so much divinely sanctified institution, that if a person becomes careful about it, works on it, it is the sadaqah jariyah. And if a person does not worry about it, or does not work on it, you can imagine it could also be the continuous sayyah, the continuous burden. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the philosophy of marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it clear. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَّفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. Each word of that, even before our creation, and before the creation of our spouses, this issue of وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامَ, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in whose name you are making this one as halal, and who is going to be asking you about what you have put into this relationship. Also, if you look into the Quran makes it very clear, أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, that this spousal relationship is for mutual tranquility and not for competition. Time is very short, it's 20 minutes, and you cannot do much justice to the topic. But I want to emphasize upon this issue to both the brothers as well as the sisters. One of our biggest problems as the Ummah, as well as the individuals, is that somehow we are unable to reflect upon the philosophy of marriage as is prescribed in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that sometimes the husband is going to be having a bad day in the office. He also knows that sisters are going to be tired and fed up with the children the whole day. So when the husband comes, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, when he comes home, he should have so much peace and tranquility that as soon as he enters the home, he knows somebody is going to be smiling in his face. Somebody is going to be basically opening the hands of respect, compassion, companionship, and saying, listen, you are no more in that competitive world. This is your Jannah. Come into it and don't worry about what the world is doing to you, what the are doing to you, and what is happening outside. Can you imagine? MashaAllah, he comes out of the office and is ready and bursts out as soon as he enters home, MashaAllah, upon the wife and the children. What is the mistake of that poor lady or that child for what happened in the office? Or what is the mistake of that poor husband who has spent 8-10 hours struggling against the wave in the office, and here he comes, and MashaAllah, and I don't want to say it to the sisters because they will get angry to me. MashaAllah. Huh? So, just reflect upon that. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. And وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. This is what is the philosophy of marriage. It is based upon compassion, mutual compassion. And mawadda is not just like what you call mutual love, belief. It is a lot more than mutual love. It is compassion. It is doing more than what is due to her, and giving her or him more than what is basically wajib or obligatory. This is a word of ihsan. And ihsan in Arabic language is not something that you just fulfill your cooking responsibilities, cleaning responsibilities,